Is Jaws like still here? He's not. Where the fuck is? Oh my god, dude! What the fuck? Holy shit! What was this shit, man? Did that jump scare you? Good. Jaws took about 8 years off my life there. I have no idea why I was silently hiding around the corner like that. Now that your heart is pumping and you're alert, welcome to my video about GoldenEye. Recently I made the decision to beat this game totally blind on 00 Agent difficulty with auto-aim disabled. I have no idea what happened growing up here with console market share, but only one of my friends wound up with an N64. Almost every other friend I had at the time had a PS1, myself included, so I totally missed out on everything on the N64. I don't know how much disabling auto-aim made it more difficult, but it took over 80 hours to beat every mission on 00 Agent. I've still, as of uploading this video, never seen the GoldenEye movie, or any Bond movie for that matter. I know so little about this universe that when I saw 006 in the facility for the first time, I just immediately shot him. So here's my thoughts about that experience and how I'd rank each mission from the perspective of maybe one of the only people who almost never played this game growing up when it was immensely popular. Other than shooting dudes in the dick constantly starting out having auto-aim disabled, the Dam in hindsight 80 hours later is actually a pretty good tutorial level. I understand what Rare was trying to accomplish just 80 hours later. You have access to an assault rifle, a sniper rifle, you start with the PP7, and at some point with the objectives are forced to run around underground. So you quickly learn while exploring that the objectives aren't completely linear or sequential. I actually think Rare did a good job here in retrospect, because if I was more attentive, I would have realized that shooting the assault rifle made the guards pay attention from afar, instead of quietly using the PP7 from a distance. But I'm an idiot and I just kept blasting people in the dick, unaware of how much that would actually come back to bite me in the ass in facility. Dam is pretty basic, but as an intro level, it serves as a functional introduction to the game because it not only teaches you the ropes and controls, but some mechanics, and it showcases different weapons. The ranks I want to assign to the levels are based on how much fun I had with the challenge of initially beating them the first time on 00 Agent with no auto-aim. Dam was a solid B. Oh, Dr. Doke RNG enthusiasts, rise up. I hear you in the back. Facility immediately taught me through the objectives that this game has RNG in the objectives. The previous level didn't have objective RNG, so Dr. Doke running around between attempts was something my brain immediately paid attention to. Facility actually kicked my ass for several hours, so I think from a design point of view, it also teaches you that Rare had absolutely no problems placing 50 plus guards in the level, and I think it forced you as a player to start using the environments and angles more strategically when it came to killing them off. I originally streamed a tier list on Twitch, and I got a lot of flack for where I placed Facility, so I'm sorry in advance. I didn't really like the objectives that much, or the layout of the level, but I didn't hate it either. I'm not exactly sure what some people see in this level that makes it so god tier to them, because to me it was another B. Runway was a weird level with pretty good music, but since beating Facility was much harder, I guess it was the first level that I didn't really like the layout of or think was very strong. To me, the previous levels showed me some form of semblance when it came to game design and challenged the player, but this was actually the opposite in Runway. It was an over-glorified level that kind of shows you, hey, there's a tank in this level, and hey, it exists. But the tank barely exists in this game, and it's more a fringe asset than something that legitimately helps Bond do anything outside of this one level and in the streets. I thought the controls for moving and aiming the tank were pretty cumbersome and sluggish at best, and the objectives were dangerously linear and required almost no exploration or thought. I also think one of the primary purposes of this level from a design point of view is it was intentionally made easy because it's almost impossible not to unlock a cheat code on Agent. But since I jumped right into 00 Agent, I didn't even know a cheat code was tied to this level. Knowing that now, I think that was probably the main purpose from the design point of view. Originally the tank was supposed to be a motorcycle as well, which presumably would have been faster to drive than a tank, but I think this was Rare's kind of like design. They were trying to create a level that could be beaten very quickly and inadvertently showed the player that a cheat code system existed within the game itself, which I have to admit adds a really cool dynamic in how you approach or play every level. Overall though, this is a pretty bland level, so to me it was a C. So at this point, Runway was a step down from Facility, and Surface introduced one of the best mechanics in this game: infinite spawning guards. The map itself was pretty linear if you stayed on the paths, but if you ran off it, it became pretty disorientating pretty quickly. Surface to me had boring objectives, and it was easily one of the worst levels so far in this game. I tried to justify it thinking, maybe if I came back to Surface, would I enjoy speedrunning this level to unlock any cheats in it? And honestly, the answer is no. I do find it interesting as this is one of the few levels you have access to a sniper rifle, so it's almost like Rare wanted you to use it and sneak around, yet at the same time, constantly dealing with infinite spawning guards kinda defeats that purpose. If enemies were limited, I actually think this might have been an enjoyable level to explore the sniper rifle with, but this was a really rough one for me to enjoy. I thought Surface was a D. At this point, I'm thinking, we're slipping here, man. Runaway was fairly weak, and Surface was actually unenjoyable, so what's next on the menu? Bunker to me was also the epitome of a level that just kinda existed. There was nothing great about it, and again the objectives were pretty straightforward, but there was also nothing that it did criminally offensive either. Aesthetically, I actually really liked how Bunker looked, and I like some of the design choices in this level because you're forced to run around, heavily emphasizing stealth to shoot out cameras to avoid getting spotted in a pretty restricted and fairly populated area. But on the opposite spectrum, we're also introduced to a new design choice here: escort missions! We meet up with our homie Boris, who is sometimes horrendous at pathing, and clearly his AI that gets into bad situations in escort isn't foreshadowing terrible things to come. Boris still behaved most attempts in clearing Bunker, but I also legitimately struggled to complain or praise too much about this level in particular. So for me, it was C. Silo was the pivotal point in this game where the game took its jaws, I'm sorry, and sank them into the side of my body. Maybe Silo challenged the inner speedrunner in me, but holy shit, Silo was an amazing level. I absolutely loved everything about the design of this level, and I also think it was brilliantly designed because it came right at the heels of Bunker, which taught you to go slow and stealth your way through everything like a turtle, where it immediately spun your expectations 180 degrees and forced you to go cheetah fast in Silo. The level itself was challenging both to figure out the objectives, how to even stay alive, and it forced a new playstyle through design. Fast! In retrospect, the scientists having randomized key cards is borderline evil, but it added a great frantic feeling to the level where you're scrambling around just to find out where the scientist dropped it exactly. The level imposes an 8-minute and 30-second time limit, and casually I was getting to the end of the level with about 20 or 30 seconds or so or less each time. And even though this was one of the rare levels, I'm also sorry, on 00 Agent that had body armor, I finished most attempts with almost no health despite trying to blend caution and haste. I really like how the best weapon to use in this level is the assault rifle, which constantly attracts guards to make the level even more frantic, and it just adds up to your adrenaline rush at the end as the time ticks down. Silo thoroughly kicked my ass for hours. I consider myself pretty good at video games, but man, this level laid me out initially and humbled me pretty hard. Extremely fun challenge and level, and why I placed Silo as the first. A. Salt and pepper, Coke and pizza, mint and ice cream. Yeah, you heard me, internet. Mint and ice cream, things that go together. I know that we can add to the timeless list of stuff that goes together: hostages and boats. Before I start, Frigate introduced me to a very important mechanic on top of the hostage mechanic itself. Here's a short clip. What? What is this ridiculous game? Oh, yeah, we learned that random ass guards can pull out random ass grenades, and random ass Bond can shoot them at random, and then you get randomly ass exploded at random. Awesome mechanic. Speaking of random, the hostages and how long they take to get off Frigate is also random. There was also a hostage I had that just stood still and refused to move. Sometimes the hostages run off the boat really quickly, sometimes they make a smooth escape. This level was quite fun, as it built on the act fast mentality and foundation that Silo had initiated. On 00 Agent, if you took too long to save the hostages, they would just die. And on top of that, the objectives involved defusing bombs and tracking a helicopter. The helicopter was easy enough, but finding the bombs, defusing them, and saving the hostages were all quite good to my brain. I can understand the absolute horror speedrunning this level would be with the hostage RNG. I really enjoyed Frigate. Despite the absolute chaos, it was great fun. And to me, it was another solid A. At this point, we're riding on a high, baby. 2 A-tier levels in a row? Hell yeah, give me more. And then Bond returns to Surface. I mean, it'll be better, right? Come on, Rare, prove me wrong. I'm sorry, Surface 2 and Surface 1 enjoyers. Surface 2 just sucks. Like, the only thing that I can give these levels is I love the snow aesthetic. Bond running around in a parka, snow and video games, all S tier to my brain. But everything else about Surface is just really rough in terms of the objectives, the levels, the layouts, and just overall fun. This is again one of the few levels that even the idea of returning to speedrun is actually unappealing. The Surface community is in shambles right now. If anything, Surface 2 was slightly better than Surface 1, but man, this level was still D. Oh great, we're back in Bunker 2. I didn't think Bunker 1 was too amazing, so is Bunker 2 going to be a repeat of Surface 2? Natalia is our jail cell buddy, and so begins the Natalia arc in this game, and she'll be tagging along with us in some of the next missions. Rare shoves Bond in a jail cell, and already there's a mini puzzle element in trying to get out, as you have to use a magnetic watch to bring over a key. As someone who never saw the movie, which I assume is in the movie, this was really confusing to get out, and I really liked what Rare did here, is they introduced like this little puzzle aspect in a first-person shooter. The puzzle aspect comes up a bit later in a different level, but I really wish Rare added more of this, because I think the beginning of this level is kind of like the overall theme of this level. You really need to use your brain and think. Bunker 2 was incredible in the sense that there was multiple paths and objectives, and still, as I make this tier list / review, I'm not exactly sure what the best way to move around and approach this level was. I again think Rare had mastermind design, as Bunker 2 comes now at the heels of Silo and Frigate, 2 stages that forced you to go through really fast, and Bunker 2 slowed me down to a crawl. I had to consider all of my actions, I had to move very carefully, I had to aim all of my shots, and essentially plan out everything to a T. Even the general idea of how I wanted to approach this level transformed and changed multiple times. An example is originally bringing Natalia and then leaving her in the jail cell until the end of the level. Bunker 2 was the first level that really forced thinking. I couldn't go through slow like in the previous levels, I couldn't go through fast like the previous levels, I had to go through smart. I genuinely thought everything about Bunker 2 was a fantastic challenge and incredibly well balanced. The theme, objectives, the little puzzle element, the difficulty, Bunker 2 was S. Do you know what else S stands for? Statue. So clearly Statue will be S tier as well by association, right? Ha! Statue's map was incredibly disorientating at first. Once you start dying and repeating the level, it eventually becomes a little bit more linear if you stay on the path, but there's still some outright wicked turns and twists that make navigating this level pretty hard. The objective in talking to Valentin is probably the lamest in the entire game, as each time you die you have to listen to him talk forever, and you'll have to repeat this mission over and over. The best part is Statue double downs on this awesome objective, and Bond has to confront the head of Janice to listen to Janice talk again. Casually, a lot of this level is literally running around disorientated, not exactly knowing what to do or where to go, and then, once you figure it out, a lot of waiting. After you confront Janice, you have to rush back to a helicopter, rescue Natalia before it explodes, and find a helicopter part, which is RNG. The design in this level to me was probably the worst yet. The objectives, having to constantly wait, and feeling perpetually lost were all very off-putting. Guess what, Surface 1 and 2 enjoyers? This level was, F. We can only improve from Statue, right? Archive placed Bond behind a desk without a weapon, but the desk had a pistol on it which I immediately loved. I thought this was a very unique and great way to start a level, completely disarmed, and it again showed me some fun level design from Rare. You could take the gun, which I originally did and I shot the guards, but it alerted other guards in the hallway which made the level much more difficult to start. So I eventually started slapping the guards to death and taking the keycard to get out, but without alerting everyone outside. Funny enough, as I said at the beginning, the total playtime of this entire playthrough was over 80 hours, and everyone on chat never spoiled a thing. The only spoiler came from, do you know who? Natalia! At some point, trying to figure out the objectives in Archive, she said, "Why don't we try the window, James?" And I was like, Natalia, come on bro, let me figure this stuff out for myself. Archives was a very fun level, so much in fact that I got pretty quick at playing it. I went back and I tried to beat the cheat unlock time on 00 Agent, which was 1 minute and 20 seconds or less. The video I'm using right now is actually the full run. Cool, huh? I think overall, Archive had fun objectives, some pretty fun mechanics, and Natalia wasn't a pain in the ass. Yet. Mainly because you only needed to look at her to save her, which I thought was funny. The game didn't require you to actually save her. After unlocking invisibility for Bond, I thought Archives was, A. Streets has Bond rendezvous again with Valentin, and honestly again mashes up some of the worst mechanics I thought so far were in this game. We get to again wait every single time that we have to restart the mission for Valentin to talk, and we later get to control the tank to get through the streets. I guess in retrospect you probably don't need to actually use the tank, at least I assume to beat the level, but the tank itself health clears out some of the enemies. This level was kinda tough casually, as most of the enemies up until this point didn't really have explosive weapons. Sometimes it would pull out grenades, but some of the guards in streets straight up have rocket launchers, and they actually almost instantly killed me off good shots at the beginning, being more unaware of my surroundings. I can appreciate Rare's dedication to the tank, and personally, I'm glad that this is the last time that we saw the tank. I can also appreciate that Rare went back and decided to add it to another level that basically was an exhibition to teach people about the cheat code and lock system. The tank feels a little bit more purposeful here, and despite still feeling like a little clumsy to control, it at least has more utility in dealing with the mines and rocket launchers. Ultimately, there wasn't a lot in this level that I liked, but again, it wasn't the worst level either. So overall, it was, C. Depot is actually a legitimately tough level. There's no body armor in 00 Agent, which makes this level really tough, and it also introduces the wall-mounted drones, which are horrifying, and I think the enemies infinitely spawned here as well if you took too long. I couldn't quite tell from my casual playthrough, but they either infinitely spawned or spawned on some kind of like timer or proximity, destroying the illegal arms cache, the computer network, finding the safe key, helicopter blueprints, and finding the train had you bouncing around the map constantly exposed at and being shot at. I don't think I'm lying, but I might be lying, but the Japanese version in 00 Agent has 11 body armors in this level, so it's pretty crazy that they took them all out for the North American release. Depot was really cool though, as there wasn't any gimmicks for the most part or anything like that. I think this was one of the first levels that there was just a heavy emphasis on execution and strong movement. As the better your movement and execution was, despite the lack of 11 body armors, the more consistent the level became. I also think by design Depot is neat, as a lot of the wall angles are minimized or taken away, and the spots that you needed to clear out are beat. It was a much more open level, lending to its difficulty. I appreciate Rare again demanding a lot from the player early on, as this wasn't anywhere near the end of the game or the midway point. So to me, Depot was, A. Some people might think the usage of the letter E or the words and the are some of the most commonly used words in the English language, but I disagree. You want to know what the most common sentence in the English language actually is? Natalia has died. Oh my god, I saw this message in so many different contexts at the very end of this level. It's pretty unreal. I think this might be the second most contentious level in this game, maybe the third, because I think to me there was kind of two parts of this level, the entire level itself and Natalia. Up until this point, whenever we were stuck with Natalia, the game wasn't actually too bad. In Bunker 2 for example, you at least had the option of leaving her in jail, but in Train towards the end you're forced to save her. The level up until that point is actually quite hard, as if you're unaware, any enemy that spawns and sits behind a box will not move. So a lot of enemies in the coach or passenger area simply wait to shoot Bond, which means you need to aim your shots very well and emphasize your positioning. The enemies later on become a little bit more free range, and there are several sections in this level that are pretty mean because the enemies will backspawn you as you're dealing with something in the forefront. A lot of memorization through death occurred, and the objectives are pretty straightforward in this level because the level itself is extremely linear. It's effectively a straight line in design and constantly push you towards the front of the train. I gotta say, the watch laser is cool, but the controls for it suck, and man, saving Natalia is otherworldly outrageous on 00 Agent. The amount of time after you shoot General Oromov to save Natalia is almost non-existent. Bond can get more time by shooting Xenia at the same time as Oromov, but the window to do so is really tiny. I failed every single time. I also didn't shoot Xenia, so I'm not exactly sure how perfect you need to be exactly. I saw that Natalia has died over and over and over again. Despite this mission I think being Natalia's biggest liability when it comes to basic survival, this was still a very fun mission. Very difficult and required again a decent amount of thinking when it came to advancing up the train towards the front. To me, train was A. Another Natalia mission. Hooray! Bond is paired again with Natalia off the beginning, but this time she's running around with a gun to help out Bond. Natalia actually carried her weight here, as soon as I saw that she was following me around in jungle after her performance in Train, I was thinking, man, I'm a goner. But she's oddly helpful, an accurate shot, and can take a surprising amount of assault rifle bullets to the face. Jungle actually has no music, and 2 cut tracks associated with it. You're listening to a song called Perimeter, which I thought was cool because it's possibly a scrap level leading into jungle, and the jungle theme itself only plays very momentarily when you're fighting Xenia, which is another unique mechanic jungle introduced. Boss fights. Xenia was a little tricky at first to figure out, as she dual wields the combination of an RCP-90 and a grenade launcher, but as long as you keep your distance beyond the bridge and save your assault rifle ammo, she wasn't that big of a threat. The drones scattered throughout the level were probably the biggest threat in jungle, and this level was noticeably laggy compared to other levels. I assume because Rare added some kind of like haze effect or something. A lot of the enemies in jungle also have assault rifles which hurt Bond, but I thought the objectives and overall layout of the level wasn't as strong as Train or Depot that came before it. I did like Xenia as a boss fight, but she died pretty quickly most attempts to really prove to be much of a formidable challenge, which made her existence in this level honestly pretty trivial. Jungle was B. I ended up beating Battletoads 1cc and Warpless last year, which to me basically was a thing to do on my gaming bucket list forever. I always wanted to beat Battletoads without using a single continue, without using any of the warps. Battletoads is also made by Rare, which I'm sure most of you already know, and that game had a wide assortment of levels that kicked my ass pretty hard that required a huge amount of learning through a huge amount of death. A design choice that I'm not particularly opposed by. I feel every game has that one level which stands out above the rest. In Battletoads, for me, it was Terratubes. That level originally exceeded all the levels that came before it. Terratubes slowed my progress down to a halt, and required me to heavily think about how I even wanted to proceed going forward without constantly dying. Is this starting to sound a little familiar? Enter Control. Natalia has died returns as one of the most muttered sentences in the entire English language. Dude, Control straight up took me over 13 hours to beat. Control alone took approximately 16% of my total playthrough with this game. Not only was Control, in my opinion, one of the hardest levels in this entire game, if not arguably the hardest, beating Control in 00 Agent might go down as one of the hardest things just in gaming I've ever done before. I know there was a lot of hearsay back then about making rental games impossible, some of which was true and some of which was totally unfounded, but maybe Control was that anti-rental level. The biggest problem in this level already is Natalia. At some point she runs into the center of the control room and we have to protect her as she reprograms the satellite. Natalia is very quick to die from a barrage of guards that will advance on her from multiple different angles and directions. Absolutely loved Control. Tying it back to Terratubes and Battletoads, the reason is because Terratubes forced me to go at the designer pace. The designers had a plan, and they really forced me to adhere to it. And I think the cool part was, at least in Control, there is multiple ways to approach multiple sections. In the 13 hours that I spent in this level, I must have revised my overall strategy at least 6 times. I actually want to break down some of my strategy because it was a long learning process which was strictly unique to this level compared to any other level in GoldenEye. Right off the start, Rare isn't messing around as you have to figure out how to get rid of multiple drones placed up very high above Bond. I think this is again very brilliant design because it kind of puts you in a panic, and I didn't realize until much later that ammo is extremely limited. I just shot everything not worrying about accuracy, but later attempts I carefully used the walls and headshots to make sure that the drones and guards died in as little shots as possible because it allowed me to specifically save my ammo to protect Natalia, and I didn't have to run around and collect ammo from the guards during the protect phase. In 00 Agent, enemies only drop 10 ammo, so you really need to make sure that you kill each guard shooting them in less than 10 ammo to stockpile a surplus of ammo, and man, this sentence sucked. On good attempts I entered the main area where you have to place the remote mines with over 160 to 180 ammo. Placing the mines, I eventually realized to throw them basically at my feet to avoid blowing out the nearby glass and giving the guards that spawn in randomly another vantage point to shoot Natalia from. Chasing Boris, I realized that there was body armor upstairs, which I always grabbed, and I always shot out 2 of the desks because I started realizing that the height of the desks and the computers on top of them sometimes absorbed my shots of the guards from where I would position myself. I think this is again where I really love this level in particular, because this is the first level that really forced me to analyze my environmental surroundings in a way that I didn't consider in previous levels. In most of the previous levels, I noticed maybe a certain wall or angles that gave me advantages over shooting a guard, but here I actually stopped to constantly think, how do I use the environment to my advantage? That also included opening the door and shooting very slowly the remaining drones from afar with as few bullets as possible to again maximize my health, body armor, and ammo for the Natalia protection phase. I even at one point realized destroying the mainframes I attracted guards to a door, so I used the extra remote mines I had to explode guards from beyond the door. So, let's talk Natalia. This is where my strategy changed multiple times, and I eventually settled on standing in front of her to protect her for a few different reasons. Originally I placed myself on the upper level and I tried to protect her from above, but sometimes the guards would shoot up the glass from the sides and basically instantly kill her. I'm not exactly sure why it happens, but I also noticed that some of the guards when I stood in front of Natalia got stuck behind Natalia, and because their guns couldn't destroy the glass, and because I didn't destroy the glass myself with the remote mines earlier destroying the mainframes, they sort of just got stuck there trying to attack us, which I was totally okay with. That left us with just the guards coming down from the stairs on the left and right, and the windows they could still blow out from the sides of us. As I stood central to Natalia to protect her, I listened audibly for glass shattering sound effects to pan myself left to right, because if I heard that, it means the guard obviously just broke through the glass. Standing down here, I could also see each guard spawn in from above, which I couldn't do previously above with the guards who spawned below. I also realized that the guards with the hatch shot at Bond, so you had a little bit of extra time to get rid of them or to move, and the guards without the hatch shot at Natalia. Bunker 2 was the first level that really challenged me intellectually to think, okay, I need to use my brain, and Control just kicked up a notch tenfold. It took me over 13 hours to figure out most of the strategies above. I love the design of this level in particular because it really forced a lot of galaxy burning on the player, at least for me. I originally tried to just rambo everything, and eventually I ran out of ammo and I had to go back to the drawing board multiple times. The funniest part was in my playthrough, after finally succeeding in protecting Natalia, I wasn't exactly sure where to go or how to finish the level or what to do yet, and then this happened. What? 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 You got like shot into the thing? What's up, nobody is important? Oh! Dude, hell yeah, like I didn't know that's where I was supposed to go. So I thought that was a particularly hilarious ending to the fact that I otherwise brained so much on this level. Without a doubt, Control is the best level in the game to me personally, and S. It's only fitting Control took up 16% of this entire video, so I'm sorry. Moving on. Going into Caverns, I had lower expectations, because surely this level wouldn't be as insane as Control was, right? And yeah, those expectations were tempered pretty quickly. Caverns was basically a stealth mission to disguise, and you had to run around carefully shooting everyone and killing the guards in each room very carefully. I went back and I checked, and on the successful clear of this level, I killed 73 guards! As far as I understand, there's no infinite spawning guard mechanic in this level, there's just a whole hell of a lot of guards. I think it's interesting design, as a lot of the guards have an assault rifle as well, one of the loudest guns in the game, so you really need to shoot your shots carefully or you'll attract a lot of unwanted attention. I also went back and checked, and it took me just under a half an hour to beat this entire level, which was the longest playtime in any level by far. To me, this was just another level similar to Facility, where Rare dumped a lot of guards in the level itself. I still didn't mind it though, and I thought it was one of the better levels, as eventually I did develop some strategies to deal with certain sections better, like blowing up the glass from afar to deal with certain enemies. So it did make me think a bit. There was also a hidden little area I discovered full of ammo, which made me wonder how many more Easter eggs and hidden sections Rare added to previous levels I might have missed. Jack Wade and his barrel can die in a barrel explosion though, because it was so easy to destroy that area by accident. Despite that, Caverns was still A. As soon as I saw the timer again in Cradle, I was thinking, oh shit. But it turns out you have 3 minutes just to destroy the computer, not beat the entire level. I actually really love the concept of Cradle a lot. It's a cool final, in quotations, level of the game, and sadly, I can't really talk about it much. In the entire game, one thing Rare did pretty well was not have a lot of exploits or cheese. Outside of maybe waiting around doors to kill guards who had to open the door and then wait for the door to open and then shoot, There was never really any kind of exploit that I found that made a mission easier, but this one, I did. I assume you're supposed to chase Trevelyan as he runs, but Trevelyan can just be shot running back and forth between 2 points to trigger the objective mission a lot easier. Part of me is tempted to speedrun this level, or at the very least go through and play it as it was probably intended. Cradle again ended in a pretty amazing way for me. Okay, we'll try not to like get knocked down. Or we'll just like stay up here forever. Why can I not go down here? Why is there a fucking guard up here? Guy, we're trying to finish the— oh my god. What a disaster. Like jump— oh my— dude. No! What? No! No way! Like how did that— what the hell? Wow. And despite the cheese was S. We're treated to a credit sequence. We beat the game! Natalia says, James, are you alright? Bond says, yes, I'm fine, thank you. And Natalia says, oh, James. And then it says original screenplay, Dr. David Doak, scenic art director Carl Hilton, production designer Duncan Botwood, costume designer B. Jones. Those lines probably make more sense if you've seen the movie, but I like imagining someone from the bushes just shouting that out as extra dialogue. If you've made it this far so far, thank you for watching. Feel free to do the like and subscribe thing on YouTube. This video was a lot of effort, and I'm trying to shoot for 1,000 subscribers here while making more videos. Equally, feel free to follow me on Twitch where I stream Monday through Friday. I appreciate both. But wait, this wasn't the end of the game! After beating Double Agent, you actually unlock 2 bonus levels, which I thought was really cool. Aztec was difficult. I'm interested at this point. What was your favorite level? And was Aztec or Control harder? I would probably say Control was harder just because of Natalia, but Aztec I think was a more difficult level overall. If I had to die on a hill and pick one, I would probably still go with Control, but Aztec is so close behind, it might as well have been a coin flip. Every guard in Aztec had either an assault rifle or a laser, and you have to kill the big man Jaws himself. Oh, and wall-mounted drones make an appearance again. They're always fun. I do wish Rare explored the boss fights a little bit more in terms of quality testing, as the showdown with Jaws could have been a legendary moment in gaming. But Jaws often gets stuck on the stairs and was pretty easy to kill. I ended up luring Jaws all the way back to where I needed to use the keycard to avoid guards spawning around where I needed to take the rocket to exit. This level was a lot of meticulous planning and punishment if things went wrong, but once you had a game plan, it was pretty consistent. What really made Aztec difficult was if anyone shot you, you took so much damage, so I was constantly resetting off getting hit by random guards to ensure I had health toward the final stretch. Very difficult and fun level though, I just wish Jaws was a bit more fleshed out as a menace. Aztec still ended on a high note though, and to me was a A. I really wanted to like Egyptian, but we had a common thing going at this point. Xenia was kind of a bust as a boss, Jaws was kind of a bust as a boss. Would Baron Samedi be a bust? Rare also brought back a little puzzle element to secure the golden gun you had to solve, which I personally really enjoyed. I paper mapped it out originally floor tile by floor tile, and this level was pretty straightforward after that. I honestly think I lucked out casually because after I got the golden gun, I actually killed Baron first try. There was no real struggle here, so to me this level was a bit hard to rank. It was just a boss fight that wasn't exactly challenging, or I got really lucky. I did like the puzzle element, but it was over pretty quickly compared to some of the other levels and how long it took to beat them. I again wish the bosses were more fleshed out and challenging, but overall, this level was still a C. I usually speedrun on Twitch and I don't often stream variety, but when I do, I really like it to be soul-crushingly difficult. I enjoy games on the hardest difficulty settings, and I had absolutely no idea what to expect when it came to GoldenEye 007 with no auto-aim and on 00 Agent. I have to admit, out of the 100 plus variety games I've streamed and beat on Twitch since 2016, GoldenEye might be my favorite blind playthrough. The music in this game is fantastic, and most of the levels were very challenging and had great design for a first-person shooter. On one hand, I'm sad that I missed out on playing this game multiplayer as a teenager with everyone for hundreds of hours, but on the other hand, I'm glad I got to experience the campaign as an adult and think my way through some of the tougher levels. Rare really was a crazy company back then, and they did a great job on GoldenEye as a whole. I think my only legitimate complaints were, at least on 1.1 Honey, I sometimes opened a door instead of reloading my gun. If that's as bad as it gets, you've made a great game. So, what did you all think? Should Facility have been S tier? Is this the worst tier list ever created for GoldenEye? Let me know in the comments. Thank you again for watching, and I appreciate your time.